I have been struggling recently with being perceived. Every single time that I am with anyone, I am like, how do you view me? Like, what do you think of me? Like, who am I in your head? And it fucks with me because I start acting different based on what I think they're thinking of me, but I don't know what the fuck they're thinking of me, and I'm just honestly jumping to conclusions. And I need to stop. I don't know. Maybe I'm like a bit loony. Maybe I'm a little loony. I started watching The Crown because Josh O'Connell is in it, and he is my white boy of the month.
No, sweetheart, you see a therapist. See a therapist. I'm not trying to upset you, but put yourself in my shoes.
Ah! Even more stressful! Man! Tilting.
And at that time, my roommate she would hang out with like her sorority friends, and she would like invite me and include me. And to this day, I owe her so much, and I really appreciate her for being so inclusive. Because it's like in times like these, you don't realize how much just someone like extending an offer to like hang out like helps you. Like the way that like gets you out of your, like, just having something to distract you and having something to like pull you out of that is so important. Even if it feels so silly, even if you're like depressed and you're like, if I hang out with someone, it's not gonna make me feel like any better, and it's not like I'm gonna come back and I'm still gonna feel like shit. In that moment, like that short period of time of socializing with someone, it's so like beneficial, and it helps. It fucking helps. It really does help.
Oh man!
So I still like owe so much to my roommate for always including me and like inviting me to hang out with her friends. But yeah, I just remember that the first couple of months, I just remember just always feeling depressed. I was constantly just depressed. I constantly felt like I couldn't get out of bed. It was hard for me to do simple things. At the end of the day, like I was a depressive person.
This is pure sadness.
And I remember it was so bad that there was a point where I was afraid to like leave my apartment.
Whenever you do something like that, you're very like, you're very vulnerable in a way, right? Because you're telling the whole world, I want to reach this thing, and if I don't, then I'm kind of failing myself. And that's like a kind of scary thing to do. Because you get a lot of, you add a lot of self-pressure to it. It's a lot easier to not tell anyone what your goals are and then just do it quietly. But when you tell everybody what your goals are, it becomes a lot scarier, right? Because you're having thousands of people knowing what your goals are, and depending on if you reach it or not, they're gonna be judging you. So yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
I think when I first had moved to California, the culture shock of moving to a completely different state and a completely different city that like moves faster and is completely different from like everything I knew in my childhood home, I was so overwhelmed, and the culture shock was so insane that I was afraid to leave my apartment during the day, because seeing the city, seeing the cars, seeing the people was way too much for me, that I would just shut down. I remember the sun would set and I'd go get groceries. The sun would set and I'd go out and get gas, because I was so like in a state of like, oh my god, I'm so shut off right now, and I'm so like out of my, like I felt so out of place, and I felt like I was like trying not to psych myself out more than I already was. And I remember, like, it's so funny because I remember the very first therapist that I saw when I moved to California, I remember telling her this, and like instantly as soon as I told her this, she just started jotting down her notes. Like, you know the memes? You say something and the therapist is like, That was me when I told the therapist that I didn't like to leave the house during the day and I would only go out at night because I refused to see the world around me. But yeah, anyways, I felt like during this time of my life when I had first moved out to California, it felt like how I had felt in high school, where I was just like, oh, okay, I would temporarily get distracted, but then I came back to like sadness, but then I came back to like sadness and just having this like doom, the impending doom, and like this cloud over my head at all times, and just feeling down and feeling pessimistic, and like I don't even want to utter these words now because it's just like I don't even like speaking these words, but for the sake of the podcast, in the moment I just felt like I was like, no one loves me, I'm alone, no one cares for me, I feel betrayed. The people who I grew up with and like I considered my friends have now all forgotten about me and are all in college, and now I'm here in California by myself. No one checks up on me. Everyone's having a good time. I'm alone. I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. I like just all of these awful things that I don't claim any of that shit. I'm saying that now because words really are so powerful. I don't claim any of that shit. But anyways, I felt like I was so fucking miserable. But it's the way that when I had first moved here, it just kind of felt like what I felt in high school times 2. It was like, it wasn't every other month that I was feeling this way now. It was just like, it was a constant thing. And sometimes I'd have little moments of happiness, but it was constant. God, if I could read my journal entries from that time. I don't even want to. I don't want to. Anyways. So I think the reason I don't fucking think about this is because I'm like, that shit is just triggering. I'm triggering myself right now. I'm triggering myself. But yeah, it was pretty fucking dark. And
how do we do this?
I felt like that it just was something that I was kind of like avoiding and not really dealing with. I was like, I don't know what this is. I've never spoken to my parents about the fact that like, oh, I think I'm sad. I didn't know how to like approach it. I knew like I thought at that time, I was like, okay, maybe I can get like a therapist. I thought it was something that would eventually go away. And as time went on and I realized it wasn't going away and I had to do something about it, then I did something about it. But in that moment, I was like, okay, hopefully it'll just like, hopefully like it's not gonna always be like this, and it'll just go away and I can look back and remember this time in my life. Oh, girl. Yeah, well, let me tell you, it got fucking worse, so... Anyways, yeah, I felt like I was kind of just putting it off for like a really fucking long time. Like, I felt like I was just constantly kind of putting it off and not really like addressing that it was a thing, but I knew it was a thing. And I dealt with it every single fucking day, and there was like very clear signs of it being a thing, but I was just like, it's fine, I don't really know what it is. Like, I never in my life, I didn't have any family members that dealt with depression. I didn't really know what depression was. My mom, y'all have met my mother, she is just like so happy, and obviously she's not always happy, you know, we all go through shit, but she just is so optimistic and views life as glass is like half full, and she's so strong, and I felt so like opposite of that, so I didn't even know how to like go about it. And so I felt like I was putting it off for so long, and of course naturally it only got worse. And
What?
I remember the first time I got a panic attack, I was in my apartment, and I was with my roommate. My roommate was in her room, and I was in my room. And I think my roommate was with one of her friends. Actually, she was. My roommate was with, like, 2 of her sorority sisters. And I was alone in my room. And for some reason, I wasn't hanging out with them. Probably just because I was, like...
Yeah, there's nothing here.
On the verge of a fucking panic attack and not in the mood. I was in my room, and then all of a sudden I just started feeling like this desperation, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. And I remember going into the bathroom and trying to get myself to calm down, and I didn't even know where this came from. The panic attack literally just came onto me out of nowhere. And so I'm in the bathroom and I'm hyperventilating, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And it's the way that when you're having a panic attack, you feel removed from your body. It's almost like your body is reacting in a certain way, and your mind is like detached and can see yourself. And I just remember my body hyperventilating and tears like running like down my face, and just like shaking and crying in the bathroom and like sobbing. And I remember I had music playing because I didn't want my roommate to hear me sobbing, but I didn't know what to do. And it got so bad that for a second I was like, fuck, I need to literally call my roommate in here, even though she's literally outside with all of her sorority sisters. I need to call her in here because I think I'm gonna fucking die. I literally thought that I was going to die. I was in the restroom, like, shaking and hyperventilating and just, like, feeling so out of control and out of my body. And I didn't even know, like, what had caused the feeling. I just felt so, like, stuck, and it was just, like, the most mortifying thing. I just remember, like, feeling like I wanted to just crawl out of my own skin. Like, I wanted so desperately to just get out of my own skin, and not being able to do that was, like, freaking me the fuck out. And I was just crying and crying and crying, and I don't remember what snapped me out of it. I think it was I think I called my mom. I think it was getting really bad that I just called my mom, and I'm pretty sure she was, like, calming me down on the phone. But yeah, that was, like, the very first experience that I had with a panic attack, and from that moment to, like, a couple months ago, I had them pretty consistent. I would have panic attacks, like, all the fucking time. They would come out of nowhere, literally. Like, I felt like I was, like, a little bomb, as I said. Like, the smallest shit sometimes would set me off, or, like, the most random shit would set me off, and it was, like, as soon as it would set me off, and as soon as, like, I went into panic attack mode, I felt like I was out of my body, and I felt like I was, like, I couldn't control my body. As much as I was telling myself, like, calm down, it's okay, I couldn't do that. Like, I had to just let it do its thing. I couldn't fuck with it. Like, I had to let the panic attack do its thing, and eventually, like, it would pass. I remember one time I was in the car with someone I spent a lot of time with, and all of a sudden, I don't know what it was, the smallest, stupidest thing set me off. It was so dumb. It, like, was not that deep, but it set me off.
This video contains God's insights. So if you like what you see, please share this video with people you love and care about. Please also comment, like, and subscribe. I'm asking for your help to share these insights. If sharing this video can save even one life, it will have been worth it. Act in faith and then stand back, and God will breathe fire and people will be drawn like moths to a flame. God is with us. Take care, guys.